There are a lot of expensive and rare items on Hypixel Skyblock. There's a lot of players who aspire to have lots of them, accumulating massive amounts of wealth. Well, today, we're going to be taking a look at a group of players who aimed to do the exact opposite, to get as few rare items as possible. So few that they went into the negatives. This is a story about how negative items were obtained, their history, and the collateral damage that they caused. Stick around, because I'm also going to be showing you one of my very own negative heads that cost me hundreds of millions of coins to make. Are these items just a useless way to put your money in the negatives, or are they rare artifacts of an unintended server feature that may have made their owners more powerful than ever intended? Let's get right into it. Negative items are weird, to say the least. Before we begin, we have to talk about some of their unique properties, cause I'll tell you, they don't behave like any stacked item. If you click on them, they disappear. This makes the only way to store them either hotkeying them into a chest or double clicking a similar item in a bag. If you throw one, it subtracts one from your stack, which just keeps making the negative number higher and higher. If you were to put a negative fuel in a furnace, it would just keep doing this forever, making infinite energy. While attempting to find things I could stick in a furnace, I may have put my builder's wand in, and I might have lost my builder's wand. Let's not talk about it. Finally, there have historically been ways to put them into chests and then reset the island, making the items have a quantity of 0. It's like an item that exists, but also doesn't. Just makes you think, doesn't it? Well, these items surprisingly have had a long-standing history on the server, with some people obtaining negative items before others even got superior dragon armor. Let me explain. Minecraft items have a limit of how many can be in a stack. Most of the time, it's 64, but with some other items like snowballs, only 16 can be in a stack. When the Skyblock universe was still an infant in 2019, there was an oversight that caused every item to stack to 64 regardless of what it was, even snowballs. At this point, the game was already broken, and it was only a matter of time until players figured out what they could do with this. Our story begins with two players, Spamming and Focus, who, from the very beginning of Skyblock, made a discovery about how items stacked that would become one of the best kept secrets on the server. They found out that you could combine overstacked quantities inside of any menu to make a negative item. It specifically took 130 or more of the same item. For the first time on Skyblock, negative items existed, but the owners of this glitch said soon after that the method was patched. This made it look like the end of the line for these items. They wouldn't be talked about again for several months. In the meantime, another accident happened on the server. A player by the name of Cookie No Exercise fished up a spiked bait that said it had 0 in the stack. Nobody knows for sure what caused this to happen, but it's never happened again ever since. Cookie listed the item as for sale, to which one of his guild members, Sulphrak, swiftly bought it for 6 million coins, which was a lot more at the time. Sulphrak was part of the most acclaimed glitch discovery group at the time. Together, they found other notable items like alpha slabs, gnolls, and dragon heads. Now that this group had their hands on an item they can make negative, they had a lot to test. They started by duping the item and distributing it to all of the members. Nothing else really came from it, even with everyone having it, but some breakaways from the group ended up giving some to other notable people, like Timedeo. Negative items once again faded into obscurity. Now, it was getting close to the end of 2020, over a year later. By now, Sulphrak's group was almost entirely wiped by admins for other dupes and glitches, and some new players took the front line for testing the limits of the game. One of these players, and a good friend of mine, Jeremy5161, knew that negative items were still in the game, but wasn't sure how to get them to his island. He was showing them off to his friends when he pressed escape on a menu and unknowingly forced them into his stash because of a full inventory. Later, when he picked up his stash, he was astonished to see that negative items had been put in his inventory. He had accidentally discovered that Spamming and Focus were lying. His method was no different. It was in the game the entire time, and all he had to do was simply find the last part of the process that allowed him to move the items to wherever he wanted. He He shared it with his co-op member Wifib, and with the two of them having it, the other glitched item collectors such as myself joined the hunt to find the method. I was able to make all kinds of negative items. If you ever see me on a public island, try clicking on me and checking inside of my vault and you could play with some of these items. Like I said before, if you try it and click on one of them, they vanish. There are some people who have even more than me. My friend Grizzled went through hundreds of milk buckets taking countless hours to make a negative enchanted cake. This all did not last long though. For the first time, a dupe was discovered using negative items that would shut it down, patching the ability to overstack most items. This brings us to a method that was just discovered on the server. Our main character this time was Jeremy's co-op member Wifib. In this new method, you could overstack any item that was stackable and able to be put on your head. This led to tons of head items becoming negative, including more spiked baits being created. Not just spiked baits, every bait. And not just baits, so many more things. It's kind of hard to explain how it was done, but it basically just had to do with kind of dragging items around.
Okay, so there's 64 on your head, there's 64 on your mouse. You want to right click and drag it to the side and it will create 127.
Wifib put several of these items on auction house for as much as possible so everybody could see. These, of course, got cancelled by admins. It was later found that Wifib had once again found a dupe with negative heads and duped over 600 million illegal coins. His entire co-op of 4 notable glitched item collectors was wiped, and a patch was soon put out that might make it impossible to ever even hold a negative item again. Lots of negative items do still exist though, and have been preserved for safekeeping in bags. Take a look at some cool ones. You guys know I like melody, right? Well, I may or may not have spent over 100 million coins getting personal harps to make into this. It is, to my knowledge, the most expensive negative head that currently exists. Pretty cool, right? So that was the story of how negative items broke the server. If you guys enjoyed it, subscribe. You'll want to stick around for everything that comes next. Until then though, take care you guys.